Stock Talks is brought to you by StockExec.com, the only online platform in the world with an annual average return of 36.93%. Your hosts for today, CEO Heather Ramsey and founder Sydney Tremayne, discussing cutting-edge, behind-the-scenes information showing you how you can optimize your stock investments and increase your returns.
Wonderful. Welcome to StockExec's series of Stock Talks, Stock Talk number 4, looking at comparing using a stock system, not just individual stocks, versus using a broker. And I am Heather Ramsey, CEO of StockExec, and we have the pleasure of interacting with founder of this StockExec system, Sydney Tremayne. Sydney, are you there?
I'm here. Thank you very much. I'm all ready to go.
Wonderful, and thrilled for whoever is listening live to us. There'll be, as always, Q&A at the end with Sydney, and if this is a recording for you, it will still be action-packed, knowledgeable, and filled with valuable information for you. That's our commitment to you, is that we could have just brought you a stock investing system that is average annual return of 36.93%. And we chose to bring you education as well, so that you are wiser and wiser each week with us in relation to the investing world overall. So without further ado, just want to say that we know that you may have a broker. So this is not bashing broker day by any stretch of the imagination. And in fact, I have a broker. I've had him for over a dozen years, and he's fantastic. So, and if you are a broker, welcome. So this is not what this theme is about. Having said that, it is about eyes open education around the entire investing world. And we're taking one theme at a time that interests our clients and the people who are considering joining the StockExec family of investors. So without further ado, let's hop in. And Sydney, what would be some of the things that you would say any investor needs to know if they're working with a full service broker? Perhaps pros and cons, for instance, but anything you believe investors would need to know.
Well, the reason for working with a full service broker is that you get information, that you get advice as to what you should invest in or not invest in. And for some brokers are very knowledgeable and very good at what they do. I knew several who were not. And the typical way that money was invested for clients was that the broker would look through his book and see who had what money in the morning and contact that person to have that money invested in something, interested in his own commissions. And as far as being knowledgeable, many of them were not, some were. There was a sales meeting every week in which the manager said, I have a good story for you, something you could tell your clients, a good story. And that isn't a way to invest. You can't invest, in my opinion, profitably and successfully one stock at a time just because you happen to have money that day. That is silly. But I also have to tell you that some of my colleagues were very good at what they did, very diligent and very knowledgeable. And I had a great deal of fun as a broker, a good time. I enjoyed working with clients directly.
So as an investor, there's a few things you're already highlighting for them. One is you need to be wary of who and or how you're selecting them, yet there's no real system to determine that and do that successfully. I mean, maybe you could ask 3 to a dozen brokers, what is their average ROI for their clients? That could be one way to do it, but
many would not even know.
Exactly. It's sort of an art and a science, or maybe it's just by chance somebody recommended somebody, or you happen to meet somebody at a party and they said they were a broker and you started working with them. So there's a lot of unknown variables in the human connection of quote unquote even selecting a broker first. You're not quite sure the skill level you're getting. That's door number one. Then the second door, what you're looking at is they are long-term. If I understood you, I want to unbundle the magic of this one. They're long-term incented to get higher returns for you because they may get paid more on that. Yet they're short-term incented by selling you anything or something, i.e. in the world of commissions. And that is a big, it's an education piece, if not a bit of a red flag.
And taking profits quickly so that you can have more money to reinvest, more commissions.
Right. And therefore buying and selling a lot because they get paid on activity. They get paid on you buying and selling or them doing it for you and them recommending that you do it. Whereas comparatively, apples to apples, the StockExec system, we don't get paid on any of your activity of buying or selling, only when and after you make profits. So that's a big, what I would refer to as an industry disrupting difference. I think the third area that you were bringing up is that it's not just the who and how you pick a broker, the fact that they are at least partially incented by activity of you buying and selling, but also that they're still in humans being influenced by other humans. They go to a mutual fund talk that day and they get inspired to potentially buy that mutual fund for you or recommend it to you. Whereas the StockExec system is not a human, it doesn't get affected by those emotions, and it's only affected by the buy, hold, and sell signals of the market. So I think those are the three comparisons that I got from it. Anything else you want to add on this theme?
And your last comment, Heather, was that's how I've designed the system, to listen to the stocks themselves. If you do that, they will tell you most often when to buy and when to sell. Now, that may be strange, it may sound a bit weird, and perhaps it is, but the system listens to the stocks and knows when to buy and when to sell.
So Sydney, let me run this by you and see if you would concur with this. What I've said to individual investors is that if we were in a room filled with professional brokers and this individual investor had our StockExec system and the brokers didn't, that the individual investor there's a high probability that they could beat every one of the brokers in that room. Is that a fair statement?
It rings around them, Heather, for most brokers at least. I know of no brokers, I don't know of anybody who gets the returns long-term that we've had.
Most brokers, when I talk to them, are comfortable with 6 to 8% getting for their clients. They can sometimes get 10 to 12. Anything past that, and I really haven't heard of it, let alone in the 20s or the 30%.
Well, in that case, maybe their clients are better off in mutual funds.
If that's what they're sort of comfortable getting. Yeah, fair enough. So just a summary, apples to apples, if door number one is working with a broker, and door number two is having the StockExec system work for you. Door number one, you've got 6 to 8, maybe 10, 12% returns versus 36+% returns is our latest annual average. You've got an individual human doing the picking and the timing versus a system doing the picking and the timing for you. And I think the third comparison is you've got a human and you're paying that human for in and out fees, for activity, for buys and sells, for being motivated on commissions that they're receiving from you, versus on the right-hand column, the StockExec system, there is no fee for activity, only when and after you make a profit.
Heather, I'll tell you a story from the...
Oh, I love stories. Go for it.
My early days as a broker.
Yeah.
I had this system going in, and within that first year, I had a flood of clients coming to me because of the returns I could get, because it was a system, not the occasional buy because you've got money today. I had an office with a special board which followed all of the stocks that were anywhere near a trigger to buy or to sell. And I was very busy as a broker, and that was because there was a system. I didn't know of any other broker in those days who had a system. I didn't know of any.
Yes. Highlights, if you haven't, and encouragements, if you haven't listened to our earlier StockExec Stock Talks 1 through 3, highlights on Sydney. He, in the 80s, had a baby version of this system, averaging 22%, and that is what earned him 6 offers from 6 different brokerage firms. The one he selected, he ended up being the top brokerage in that firm, understandably, if other clients are getting 6, 8, 10, 12%, and he's averaging 22%. And of course, we're into the 30s now. So I think that's a fair 3-point comparison so far in terms of working with a full service broker versus a StockExec system. And again, for you as an individual investor, it doesn't have to be mutual exclusive. You don't have to be freaking out going, oh my God, do I have to fire my broker? You can gradually sequester and allocate some of your funds into the StockExec system with us and let the numbers speak for themselves.
I'm sure there are brokers today who have systems, and those brokers should probably run rings around their peers.
Yes. This is a bit more of a, say, controversial or extreme statement than our opening one, how you could lose your shirt with full service broker, not just comparing. So what is the kind of worst case scenario that I think is important that people know going in terms of working with brokers?
I had a widow who came to me once with $4,000. That's what she had left. She had been left a certain amount of money by her deceased husband some months earlier. She believed that the broker that she finished up with, who was new to the business, had seen the obituary in the column in the newspaper, and within 2 weeks contacted her, and she was glad for what she thought was to be the help. Well, he didn't know what the heck he was doing and lost all the money except for $4,000. And that's what she had left when she came to me. She said, what can you do to help me? And at that level, there was not much I could do. She became a client, but there wasn't much I could do with capital of $4,000. If you make 10% on that in a year, or even if you make 20%, that's what, $800?
Yes.
So there wasn't much you could do for somebody like that, and that is such a shame, and it's not the only time I've heard of this.
And this is, again, not by any stretch of the imagination average in the industry.
Good Lord, no.
Average is 6 to 8%, 10 to 12 at other times, depending on who you're working with. Yet it is important to raise that red flag and know your worst case scenario whenever you're dealing with any investment option and your precious funds that are going to lead to, the growth of the abundance and the life that you're wanting to create for yourself. So fair enough. And I think it's really touching on your initial point of it's a human, you the investor, guesstimating and trying to select a human, i.e. your broker, and not really knowing what their performance is, because with the StockExec system, you know what its performance is. With individual broker, you're really going in somewhat blind, knowing what their performance is and or being able to compare it to other brokers. So fair enough.
And remember, performance one day doesn't tell you what the performance will be on the next day.
Whereas, again, it's same with us, and yet, boy, December 31st, 2015, 36.93% average annual, and 6 months later, we're a 1/100% actually off that, and in fact higher at 36.94%. So there's some solidity there for sure.
One of the things I would ask as a potential client is, how long have you been in the business? Somebody who's been in the business for 10 years or 15 or 20 years has survived a lot, and should know a fair amount of stuff too. So I would, and I hate to do this, but me personally, I would avoid somebody who's new in the business. They may be brilliant. I mean, I was top in the firm in my first year, which is, I think, unusual. But that doesn't mean to say that all the new people are bad or all the new people are good either. You have to get to know the person before you put your money on the table. I think that's the answer.
Or know that the broker has our StockExec system at hand.
Well,
Which
yes.
my broker is considering. So really good distinctions. Any other questions you would ask if you were, I know that you're not, but if you were shopping for a broker, what would you advise listeners and viewers? How long they've been in the industry? What else could be a game-changing question they could ask?
Oh God. Even if you ask, I don't know that you'd get an edited version of the answer. I don't know. I haven't been looking for brokers for ages.
Yes. Yeah. As I say, I'd be, asking 10 what their average ROI is across their clients, but as you say, many of them may not know.
Frankly, it was difficult for me to know, and I wouldn't have known without a computer program to tell me, and that was in the days of almost steam-driven computers.
Right. Fair enough. Perhaps a final theme, not looking so much at how we may be at risk with brokers or comparing brokers objectively to a stock exec system. And this is a bit of an open question, but what do full service brokers really know? Like, are they really on the pulse of every mutual fund they may be recommending or every stock or GIC or bond they may be recommending? What do they really know or not know? As objectively and you are as you can be. Thanks.
Well, that's a very difficult question, because it's different for every broker.
Sure.
Some, as I've said, are very good, and some are terrible. Most of the time in a day, a broker is on the phone talking to either to clients or to prospective clients or people that he would like to have as clients. And time for study is somewhat limited. There is some mandated by regulation. There are a certain number of meetings. For instance, if you're selling mutual funds, there are a certain number of hours in the year that you must spend at brokerage meetings. But most of those are sales meetings from the brokerage firm in the first place. And they may have an analyst there to tell you what he or she was doing. But is it useful? Frankly, I don't think so. As you say, it might enthuse somebody to leave that meeting and go out and sell some of the funds of the presenters. But was it useful? Did you get useful information that increased your wisdom? I would say basically no. What do full service brokers really know? Quite often very little. What they really know is they have to get more sales to hang on to the job. Some of the new ones, some of them are desperate to earn enough commissions to hold the job for another month. And that's a tough thing to say, but it happened to be true. I've seen it often enough.
Yes.
That doesn't mean to say that is the majority or even the average, but it happens.
Yeah, and I guess to be even more fair to them, and again, we're just doing as objective comparison as possible, it's not even so much do they know much. I mean, they have a lot of data in their minds, I'm sure, of this mutual fund or that investment instrument or this ETF, whatever it is. And yet how much relevant data to optimizing return on investment do they know? And how physically capable is any human brain able to act like a computer to take the relevant data they know? Like if 95% of it is irrelevant, let's say 5% of it's relevant to increasing the client's ROI. And then of that 5%, can they filter it like a computer could to actually know what action to take on what day at what time, it becomes almost too much. It's not about quote unquote, again, broker bashing. It becomes too much to ask any human being to physically be capable of doing, compared to a system like ours, which is literally 24/7 processing the actual spot on the chart or on the buy sell line for thousands of stocks. No
Look,
human.
the exams to get into the business are not easy. They can be done in 3 months,
Yeah.
but they're not easy. And in most cases, including my own, the information that one got in the studies enough to pass an exam was never used again. I mean, analyzing balance sheets and things like that. There's a lot of study relative to that. Very few brokers do that.
Wow. Well, for me, Sydney, I end where we began, and I end with what I've shared with many investors, both clients and people looking at the StockExec system, which is, if we were in a room full of brokers and you had the StockExec system and they didn't, there is a high probability that you would beat them all, not just today or next month or next year, but for the lifetime of your investment portfolio. And that, to me, once I got that, and I've really, been finding top performing, not just ideas, because, let's take a different sector for a moment. Let's just take like the health world. People can recommend garlic for this, or, frankincense oil for that, or, vitamin C, whatever for this. And yet it's sort of like individual shots in the dark, as opposed to having a health system. I've got a health system literally, which is like mutual funds in a bottle. They're amazing. It's like synergistic, plant-based elements that are replicating the human metabolic system, joint renewal, cell renewal, lining renewal, etc., heart renewal, which, as I say, are like mutual funds for the body. And once I had been in the health world for decades and then found this quote unquote system of plant-based formulas, I stopped looking, because I'd found not one plant, not one idea, not one more article in a health magazine, but I'd found a system in health. And once I'd been searching, for higher returns for decades. And once I met you and I found this system, I was, feisty enough to keep looking and smart enough to know when I found it. A system in any area that optimizes your results, whatever you want, whether it's vital health, and people keep thinking I'm a few decades younger than I am, so it must be working, or vital portfolio. I mean, really in life, there's health, wealth, and happiness. What else is there? And that wealth feeds your health and your happiness. And so for me, and hopefully for I know for our clients now, and for ones who are considering coming on board, that this is a system. It's fundamentally different from somebody teaching you what to do. You don't have to learn it to understand it. It's a system. It's fundamentally different from throwing, darts at a board as an individual, or a darts at a board at selecting a broker. So that, for me, is my final note. Any final notes for you on this theme of comparing a system to using a broker?
Yeah, most people think that the most important thing they can do is choose the right stock. And they spend a lot of time trying to do that, and they may do 2 or 3 in that fashion. Choosing the stock is it's the least important thing you do.
Yeah.
Our clients don't even have to choose. The system will do it for them if that's what they wish. It's about management. It's about management of the portfolio. It's about management of those stocks. It's about the timing of the buying and of the selling. And very few people teach that. They teach how to analyze a balance sheet to understand whether the stock has a good chance of making a profit or a lesser chance. And that is not important. Any stock, all stocks, in their own time go up and down, some a bit more than others. And volatility is your friend, incidentally. You can't make money without any volatility.
Yeah.
So, as you say, it is a system, but it is a system that concentrates not just on the stock itself, but on the whole area of the portfolio and managing that. And it does it automatically.
And as you say, few people teach timing, and fewer still give a system that does the timing for you. And that's what I sleep well at night for and give thanks for every day. So I think without further ado, for folks of you, our clients who are on with us live, feel free to stay on and ask any question of Sydney on the Q&A through the chat box, and he'll be answering you live. And for those of you watching the recording, if you're yet to become part of the family of StockExec investors, there is only today in your life. So act, get a live demo from us so we can show you exactly how it works for you, and know what you're saying no to before you actually stay stagnant in whatever returns you may be getting. So we look forward to supporting you and creating a win-win in your portfolio that's real. The only thing, it won't happen unless you take action. And so that action is very simple, clicking on or typing in the stockexec.com/schedule for a live demo, and or calling us at that 888 number. So looking forward to supporting you, leading you to your best decision, whatever that is, and supporting you in great returns with the rest of our clients. So onward and upward.
Schedule a live demo at stockexec.com/schedule or call 1-888-992-4558.